Good morning everyone, and welcome to Pray First. How is everyone doing this beautiful Friday morning? I can't believe it's already the end of the week, and it's also almost the end of the month. I can't believe October 2021 has already come and nearly gone. We only have I think the Sunday's the 31st, and then we start over on Monday in the month of November. So how many of you people out there will put your Christmas trees up in November, or do you guys wait till December? It seems like we keep putting our tree up earlier and earlier, and it may just be because it takes so much work to put up the tree and all the decorations. We figure we might as well enjoy it longer, because let me tell you, as soon as Christmas is over, I want all that out. I want the house clean and back to normal. So anyways, good morning, everyone. I'm so glad you guys are here with me this morning. A couple shout outs. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Carla. Hey, Christine, how are you doing? Hey, Deborah, how are you doing? Good morning, Bonnie. Come on in here. Make sure, remember, this is a conversation that we're having with each other. Of course, I'm talking to you and I don't get to physically see you, but I love seeing your comments and feeling like I get to be a part of your morning. So Pray First is our principle that we're bringing God our first. So we're spending time with Him, spending time in His Word, learning more about Him to start our day off right, to make sure that our focus and our priorities can be centered on Him. Good morning, Daryl. Hey, Rebecca. How are you guys all doing? All right, so as you're welcoming each other, make sure you're hitting the hearts and hitting the likes, and you're sharing this out. Let me know if you're seeing this live or recorded as I go back after I'm done, and then I always make sure I do my best to comment on everyone. And by the way, sometimes Facebook is strange. Like, I can see your comments right now, but then when I go back, they're gone. I don't understand it, but know that I do see it, and I do appreciate you guys talking with each other and talking to me. So, we are continuing in the Bible project. You know, we finished up the Kingdom Disciples, and now we're working our way through the Bible again, understanding the importance of making sure we're physically reading the Word. It's not just hearing the Word, it's also doing the Word, but taking the time to actually get in the Word so we're understanding exactly what He's having us do. This is imperative in your walk with Christ. If you consider yourself to be a disciple, then you actually have to read the Word. Just a reminder, we're going through it in the Message version, so that it's just for ease of understanding, so that we can reach as many people as possible, so that there's no confusion if we're doing in the old King James version or what have you. So I want to get started, because in my dreams it'd be fantastic to get through Genesis. We know that Genesis, the first book of the Bible, is very long because all their chapters are really long. But you know what I love? I love that Dennis had hit a lot of the old names when he was doing this on Tuesday. And alas, I don't think I have to. I kind of read through what I was going to be reading through this morning, and I didn't see too much that was going to be tripping me up. I'm sorry. This is for Chip. He wanted us to give him some applause. I know you say hold your applause, Chip, but what you're basically saying is acknowledge me. So, hey, friend, I'm glad you're out there. I'm so glad you're here this morning. Hey, Raymond. Hey, Brenda. Okay, guys, so we are starting in chapter 47. Are you ready? Chapter 47, Genesis. I'm going to read through it. As I'm reading through it, remember, if something jumps out at you that you think, oh my gosh, that really resonates with me, hashtag it out there. And yes, we're getting excited, all right? Good morning, Mel. All right, chapter 47. We are starting. Joseph went to Pharaoh and told him, my father and brothers with their flocks and herds and everything they own have come from Canaan. Right now they are in Goshen. He had taken 5 of his brothers with him and introduced them to Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked them, what kind of work do you do? Your servants are shepherds, the same as our fathers were. We have come to this country to find a new place to live. There's no pasture for our flocks in Canaan. The famine has been very bad there. Please, would you let your servants settle in the region of Goshen? Pharaoh looked at Joseph. So your father and brothers have arrived. A reunion. Egypt welcomes them. Settle your father and brothers on the choicest land. Did you hear that? Pharaoh is giving them the choicest land. Yes, give them Goshen. And if you know any among them that are especially good at their work, put them in charge of my own livestock. Next, Joseph brought his father Jacob in and introduced him to Pharaoh. Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked Jacob, how old are you? Jacob answered, "The years of my sojourning are 130, a short and hard life, and not nearly as long as my ancestors were given." Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh and left. Just a side note, I do not want to live till I'm 130 years old, all right? There we go. Joseph settled his father and brothers in Egypt, made them proud owners of choice land. It was the region of Ramesses, just as Pharaoh had ordered. Joseph took good care of them, his father and brothers, and all his father's family, right down to the smallest baby. He made sure they had plenty of everything. The time eventually came when there was no food anywhere. The famine was very bad. Egypt and Canaan alike were devastated by the famine. Joseph collected all the money that was to be found in Egypt and Canaan to pay for the distribution of food. He banked the money in Pharaoh's palace. When the money from Egypt and Canaan had run out, the Egyptians came to Joseph. "Food, give us food. Are you going to watch us die right in front of you? The money is all gone." Joseph said, "Bring your livestock. I'll trade you food for livestock since your money's run out." So they brought Joseph the livestock. He traded them food for their horses, sheep, cattle, and donkeys. He got them through that year in exchange for all their livestock. When that year was over, the next year rolled around and they were back saying, "Master, it's no secret to you that we're broke. Our money's gone and we've traded you all of our livestock. We're nothing left to barter with but our bodies and our farms. What use are our bodies and our land if we stand here and starve to death right in front of you? Trade us food for our bodies and our land. We'll be slaves to Pharaoh and give up our land. All we ask is seed for survival, just enough to live on and keep the farms alive." So Joseph brought up all the farms in Egypt for Pharaoh. Every Egyptian sold his land. The famine was that bad. That's how Pharaoh ended up owning all the land, and the people ended up as slaves. Joseph reduced the people to slavery from one end of Egypt to the other. Joseph made an exception for the priests. He didn't buy their land because they received a fixed salary from Pharaoh and were able to live off of that salary. So they didn't need to sell their land. Joseph then announced to the people, "Here's how things stand. I brought you and your land for Pharaoh. In exchange, I'm giving you seed so you can plant the ground. When the crops are harvested, you must give a fifth to Pharaoh and keep 4/5 for yourselves, for seed for yourselves and your families. You're going to be able to feed your children." They said, "You've saved our lives. Master, we're grateful and glad to be slaves to Pharaoh." Joseph decreed a land law in Egypt that is still in effect. A fifth goes to Pharaoh. Only the priest's lands were not owned by Pharaoh. And so Israel settled down in Egypt in the region of Goshen. They acquired property and they flourished. They became a large company of people. Jacob lived in Egypt for 17 years. In all, he lived 147 years. When the time came for Israel to die, he called his son Joseph and said, "Do me this favor. Put your hand under my thigh, a sign that you're loyal and true to me to the end. Don't bury me in Egypt. When I lie down with my fathers, carry me out of Egypt and bury me alongside them." "I will," he said, "and I'll do what you've asked." Israel said, "Promise me." Joseph promised. Israel bowed his head in submission and gratitude from his bed. Sometime after this conversation, Joseph was told, "Your father is ill." He took his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, and went to Jacob. When Jacob was told, "Your son Joseph has come," he roused himself and sat up in his bed. Jacob said to Joseph, "The strong God appeared to me as Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me. He said, 'I'm going to make you prosperous and numerous, turn you into a congregation of tribes, and I'll turn this land over to your children coming after you as a permanent inheritance.' I'm adopting your 2 sons who were born to you here in Egypt before I joined you. They have equal status with Reuben and Simeon, but any children born after them are yours. They will come after their brothers in matters of inheritance. I want it this way, as I was watching from Padam. Your mother Rachel, to my deep sorrow, died as we were on our way through Canaan, when we were only a short distance from Ephrath, now called Bethlehem." Just then Jacob noticed Joseph's sons and said, "Who are these?" Joseph told his father, "They are my sons whom God gave to me in this place. Bring them to me," he said, "so I can bless them." Israel's eyesight was poor from old age. He was nearly blind, so Joseph brought them up close. Old Israel kissed and embraced them and said to Joseph, "I never expected to see your face again, as now God has let me see your children as well." Can you imagine that moment? Because remember, Jacob thought that that Joseph was dead. His brothers had sold him into slavery. They had thrown him into a pit first. They provided evidence to Jacob with a torn, bloody coat of many colors. And then here in his old age, he gets to see Joseph once again and meet his children. What a poignant moment for him. Joseph took them from Israel's knees and bowed respectfully, his face to the ground. Then Joseph took his 2 boys, Ephraim with his right hand, sending him to Israel's left, and Manasseh with his left hand, sending him to Israel's right, and stood before them. But Israel crossed his arms and put his right hand on the head of Ephraim, who was younger, and his left hand on the head of Manasseh, the firstborn. Then he blessed them. The God before whom walked my fathers Abraham and Isaac, the God who has been my shepherd all my life along to this day, the angel who delivered me from every evil, bless the boys. May my name be echoed in their lives in the names of Abraham and Isaac, my fathers, and may they grow covering the earth and their children. When Joseph saw that his fathers had placed his right hand on Ephraim's head, he thought he had made a mistake, so he took hold of his father's hand to move it. That's the wrong head, Father. The other one is the firstborn. Place your right hand on his head. Now remember, the custom at this point was the firstborn would get a greater blessing. But his father wouldn't do it. He said, I know, my son, but I know what I'm doing. He also will develop into a people, and he will also be great. But his younger brother will be even greater, and his descendants will enrich nations. Then he blessed them both. Israel will use your names to give blessings. May God make you Ephraim and Manasseh. And that he made it explicit. He put Ephraim ahead of Manasseh. Israel then said to Joseph, I'm about to die. God be with you and give you safe passage back to the land of your fathers. As for me, I'm presenting you as the first among your brothers, the ridge of land I took from the Amorites with my sword and bow. Jacob called his sons and said, gather around. I want to tell you what you can expect in the days to come. Come together, listen, sons of Jacob, listen to Israel, your father. Reuben, you're my firstborn, my strength, first proof of my manhood, at the top in honor, at the top in power. But like a bucket of water spilled, you'll be at the top no more, because you climbed into your father's marriage bed, mounting that couch, and you defiled it. Simeon and Levi are 2 of a kind, ready to fight at the drop of a hat. I don't want anything to do with their vendettas, want no part in their bitter feuds. They kill men in fits of temper, slash oxen on a whim, a curse on their uncontrolled anger, on their indiscriminate wrath. I'll throw them out with the trash. I'll shred and scatter them like confetti throughout Israel. You, Judah, your brothers will praise you. Your fingers on your enemy's throat while your brothers honor you. You're a lion's cub, Judah, home fresh from the kill, my son. Look at him crouch like a lion, king of beasts. Who dares mess with him? The scepter shall not leave Judah. He'll keep a firm grip on the command staff until the ultimate ruler comes and the nations obey him. This is a foreshadow of Christ, because Christ comes from the lineage of Judah. He'll tie up his donkey to the grapevine, his purebred prize to a sturdy branch. He will wash the shirt in wine and his cloak in the blood of grapes. His eyes will be darker than wine, his teeth whiter than milk. Zebulun settles down on the seashore. He's a safe harbor for ships right alongside Sidon. Issachar is one tough donkey crouching between the corals. When he saw how good the place was, how pleasant the country, he gave up his freedom and went to work as a slave. Dan will handle matters of justice for his people. He will hold his own just fine among the tribes of Israel. Dan is only a small stake in the grass, a lethal serpent in ambush by the road. When he strikes a horse in the heel and brings its huge rider crashing down. I wait and hope for your salvation, God. Gad will be attacked by bandits, but he will trip them up. Asher will become famous for rich foods, candies, and sweet fit for kings. Naphtali is a deer running free that gives birth to lovely fawns. Joseph is a wild donkey by a spring, spirited donkeys on a hill. The archer with malice attacked, shooting their hate-tipped arrows. But he held steady under fire, his bow firm, his arms limber, with the backing of the champion of Jacob, the shepherd, the rock of Israel. The God of your father, may he help you. And may the strong God, may he give you his blessings, blessings tumbling out of the skies, blessings bursting up from the earth, blessings of breasts and womb. May the blessings of your father exceed the blessings of the ancient mountains, surpass the delights of the eternal hills. May they rest on the head of Joseph, on the brow of the one consecrated among his brothers. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. All morning he gorges on his kill. At evening divides up what's left. All these are the tribes of Israel, the 12 tribes, and this is what their father said to them as he blessed them, blessing each one with his own special farewell blessing. Then he instructed them, I am about to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave which is in the field of Ephraim the Hittite, the cave in the field of Malchapeth, facing Mamre, in the land of Canaan, the field Abraham bought from Ephraim the Hittite for a burial plot. Abraham and his wife Sarah were buried there. Isaac and his wife Rebekah were buried there. I also buried Leah there. The field and the cave were brought from the Hittites. Jacob finished instructing his sons, pulled his feet into bed, breathed his last, and was gathered to his people. All right, I'm going to go ahead and finish up Genesis, so we're starting chapter 50. Joseph threw himself on his father, wept over him, and kissed him. Joseph then instructed the physicians in his employ to embalm his father. The physicians embalmed Israel. The embalming took 40 days, the period required for embalming. There was public mourning by the Egyptians for 70 days. When the period of mourning was completed, Joseph petitioned Pharaoh's court. If you have reason to think kindly of me, present Pharaoh with my request. My father made me swear, saying, I am ready to die. Bury me in the great plot that I prepared for myself in the land of Canaan. Please give me leave to go up and bury my father. Then I'll go back. Pharaoh said, certainly, go and bury your father as I made you promise under oath. So Joseph left to bury his father, and all the high-ranking officials from Pharaoh's court went with them. All the dignitaries of Egypt joining Joseph's family, his brothers and his father's family. Their children and flocks and herds was left in Goshen. Chariots and horsemen accompanied them. It was a huge funeral procession. Arriving at the Atad threshing floor just across the Jordan River, they stopped for a period of mourning, letting their grief out in loud and lengthy lament. For 7 days, Joseph engaged in these funeral rites for his father. When the Canaanites who lived in that area saw the grief being poured out at the Atad threshing floor, they said, look how deeply the Egyptians are mourning. That is how the side of the Jordan got the name Abel Mizraim, Egyptian lament. Jacob's sons continued to carry out his instructions to the letter. They took him on into Canaan and buried him in the cave in the field of Machpelah, facing Mamre, the field that Abraham had bought as a burial plot from Ephraim the Hittite. After burying his father, Joseph went back to Egypt. All his brothers who had come with him to bury his father returned with them. After the funeral, Joseph's brother talked amongst themselves. What if Joseph is carrying a grudge and decides to pay us back for all the wrong that we did him? So they sent Joseph a message. Before his death, your father gave this message. Tell Joseph, forgive your brother's sin, all that wrongdoing. They did treat you very badly. Will you do it? Will you forgive the sins of the servants of your father's God? When Joseph received their message, he wept. Then his brothers went in person to him, threw themselves on the ground before him and said, we'll be your slaves. But Joseph replied, this is important. Don't be afraid. Do I act for God? Don't you see? You planned evil against me, but God used those same plans for my good. As you see all around you right now, life for many people. Let's say that once more for everyone to hear. Even if evil things happen to you, God can use them for his good. That's what Joseph sees. We need to see that as well. All things, both the good and the bad, work together for those who love God. Easy now, you have nothing to fear. I'll take care of you and your children. He reassured them, speaking with heart to heart. Joseph continued to live in Egypt with his father's family. Joseph lived 110 years. He lived to see Ephraim's son into the third generation. The sons of Machir, Manasseh's sons, were also recognized as Joseph's. At the end, Joseph said to his brothers, I am ready to die. God will certainly pay you a visit and take you out of this land and back to the land he solemnly promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Then Joseph made the sons of Israel promise under oath, when God makes his visitation, make sure you take my bones with you as you leave here. Joseph died at the age of 110 years. They embalmed him and placed him in a coffin in Egypt. All right, friends, we have finished Genesis. We have done it. We have read the entire book of Genesis in the Message version as we continue with Bible Project 2021. And as we know, since we're just in Genesis, and I mentioned at the beginning that we're starting November next week, we will probably continue into 2022 because Pastor really wants us to read the entire Bible with you on Pray First in the Message version. And by the way, remember, as you're sharing this out, if you have friends who do not have a Facebook page, you can message them separately and let them know, hey, it's also available on Pray First. Pastor Doug has a Pray First. Goodness gracious, my brain. It's also available on YouTube. He has a page, it's Pastor Doug page on YouTube. I can put the link in down yonder if no one has it right now. But that's so you guys can also, I mean, it's an easy collection. It's all in one location, but it's also a great place for you to share it with your friends. So I'm going to pray us out. Lord, thank you so much for bringing all my friends here every morning, Lord, and being able to talk with them, Lord, and read your word. The importance of reading your word, Lord, just cannot be underestimated, Lord. We love you. Bless everyone here, Lord. No spirit but your Holy Spirit. Have your way with them. Help them have an incredible Friday, a magnificent weekend. Help many of them come see us this Sunday if they're able to, physically in-house or online, Lord. And I just thank you for all my friends. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, friends. Love you all. Have a fantastic, fantastic weekend. And I will see you next week. Bye, everyone.